So here's the final carburetor setup now, all done. I did look at moving this from here to here, but this has to be drilled and tapped, so that's why I've had to go with this one here. Unfortunately, this is the vent line from the crankcase, so that goes into the filter. I thought that they went into one of these two connections here, but I remembered when I got the filter out that it goes there, so that's all sorted now. As I was showing you, all the connections are all made up and good. This is one of the little fittings I made for on the lathe, so for the throttle cable. This is all good now, clamped in there. I cut a little bit of this off because it was interfering with the rocker cover, the cable. So that's all done now. Wiped it all down so there's no oil leak anymore, hopefully. Cable tied the throttle cable so it doesn't wobble around and cause stress for the pit inspector. I'm not sure whether I can actually show you where the fitting is that I made for the inside the inner wing. Well, I don't very much doubt you can see in there, but it's in there. It's a little brass fitting that I showed you down at the other place, so you might be able to see it, you might not. But anyway, that's just to stop the cable going straight through into the car. So that's pretty well it now for the inspection. So I've replaced the seat belt. So the seat belt's now got a non-frayed one in it. The side lights are now marked up and all good to go, so they all work. Obviously the oil leak's been done, the front suspension's been done, the rear suspension's been done. The window now lines up and down, fully up and down, which is good. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful. New door cards when it comes back from the inspection and it passes. I think that's about it really. The gas struts have been replaced, so if he opens the bonnet now and doesn't hold on to the bonnet, it'll more likely take his chin out on the way up because there's a bit too much lift in them now, but that's better than it was. And when it comes back, I'll more likely put the original struts back on because they still hold the weight of the bonnet, but he had it at half, and then it had to hold it up fully when it was at half height, and it didn't. So I might, but this is a bit too rapid now, so I'll put the old ones back on again when it comes back. So there's the new side lights with the indicators included and not solid ambers like it was before. And I think that's about it really. That's the end of the update, and ready for the pits inspection this week, if I can get it booked in, and then registration, and then engine out, MX5 gearbox conversion and the supercharger, and we'll see where we go with that. Have a nice week. I'll speak to you soon. So this is just the final segment on the suspension and the carburetor install. So firstly, just have a quick look at the suspension. Now it's all finished. So all nylocks, everything's been torqued up. Everything is as it should be now. And everything looks just about right. So again, when I put this together, I put a jack with a piece of wood just underneath here so that it would get the pin as straight as I could. It comes up slightly on the piss, on the back here, and then I had to take the anti-roll bar off to get this bolt to actually go through from the other side. So it's just something to keep in mind. The anti-roll bar bush is easier, anti-roll bar arm, connecting rod, right, is better connecting this up at the top first and then putting this in at the bottom, I've found. And also there is a lot of, there's people who put the bottom pin in first and then put the top pin in by lifting the suspension with it or with the pin in. I just find with the hub on and the bearing and everything, the disc, right, that can be quite cumbersome. So I have put the bottom pin in, then jacked it up with a spring and done the top one without the hub and the bearing on and the disc, and it makes it a lot easier to do it in the top in that regard. So that's just my own personal preference, right, and how I do it. So this side's all done as well now, all tightened up and torqued, and you can see the spaces that I machined up. That's all in there. Same deal underneath here, jack it all up. It's all been greased now, ready for the road. Anti-roll bar, I was going to do the anti-roll bar bushes, but they don't look too bad, so I won't bother with them. So that's it, all done. Rear suspension. So when I put the rear suspension together, I put the front connection, front hanger bolt in first and let the spring hang low. Then I put all the U-bolt together, didn't put the rear hanger on, and then I jacked up the spring with the bottom bracket on, and I had to put like 60 kilos of pool salt in the boot to save lifting the car off the hoist. So once I did that, then I can get these bolts on, and then I got a tie lever in the back here and levered this down to get this rear hanger in. I left the rear hanger till last because it just sort of rests on this bracket here. So yeah, obviously the other side is the same. Put this one in first, put the wood up underneath here originally to get the spring up high enough to get these bolts, the U-bolts in with the brackets. And I always make sure the U-bolts go through these two brackets, or these three brackets, before I do the assembly, because typically they are a little bit further apart than they need to be. So I just get them in the vise and tighten them up so they all drop into the holes nice and neat and tidy without having to worry too much about getting all that aligned. I'll have to put a bit of paint on there because that's where the wood went. Yeah, same on this side, the wood went on there as well. And then yeah, I left it come up here and then rest on this, and then I'll tie lever this down, put these in. They're all tight now, so it's all pretty well good to go. I'll just go and show you the finished carburetor setup.